Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get started. So, thank you everyone for joining us here today. My name is Mike Pedone. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Sparrows Point Terminal. Today we gather for what I believe is an important moment in our redevelopment effort. We pause to remember and honor the tens of thousands of men and women who worked here over the past 125 years. Many of them worked their entire lives here, participating in the steelmaking process that was such a part of our nation's industrial heritage. We wish that we could have invited all of those people, but that obviously wouldn't be possible. But let me start by taking a moment to recognize the many elected officials who have joined us here today. We have with us Senator Norman Stone, Delegate Mike Weir, Senator-elect Johnny Ray Sowing, Delegate-elect Bob Long, Delegate-elect Robin Grammer, Delegate-elect Rick Metzger, Councilman John Olszewski Sr., Councilman-elect Todd Crandall, Secretary of Transportation Jim Smith, Deputy Secretary of Transportation Leif Dormsjo, and Deputy Secretary of Labor Scott Jensen, as well as former Congresswoman Helen Bentley. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you being here. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize the many historians and others who have devoted so much time and energy to chronicling the point. Special recognition should go to the UMBC Mill Stories Project, which was very helpful to us in putting together today's program. As many of you know from driving by the point, demolition has been proceeding here at a fairly brisk pace as we look to transform former industrial property into something that's ready for 21st century jobs and 21st century economic development opportunities. But amid this ongoing demolition, something is about to take place that requires us to step back and reflect on the history of the point. The implosion of the L furnace is set to take place early next month. We don't know the exact date yet, because imploding a structure the size, complexity, and strength of the L furnace is something that must be carefully orchestrated, and it depends in part on uncontrollable factors like weather. You can be sure, however, that when the contractors handling that project have given us guidance about timing, we will share it with you through the media. When that iconic building is taken down, we know that a symbol of the Point's steelmaking legacy is going to disappear from the landscape forever. We're fortunate that the symbol atop the furnace, the Star of Bethlehem, was saved. I hope you noticed it when you came in today. It is hard to miss the giant star in the parking lot. But after this morning's ceremony, everyone's welcome to take a closer look. Please take the opportunity to get some photos with it while it's down here on the ground. We don't know the specifics yet of exactly where the star is going to be placed, but please rest assured that the star will be part of a long-term plan to ensure that there's an appropriate remembrance of the Point's legacy. You know, as somebody whose relatives worked here at the Point and raised families thanks to jobs here, I have to admit that even I have mixed emotions. There's a bit of sadness saying goodbye to a legacy. But I'm also working hard with my colleagues at SPT to bring hope to the future here, create new jobs, and restore the Point to being a hub of economic activity for the region. So as we prepare to remember the legacy of the Point and begin our program, I want to take a minute to introduce Pastor Daniel Kudrick of Dundalk United Methodist Church and Graceland United Methodist Church, who will begin our ceremony today with an opening invocation. And following his remarks, we're honored to have the students from the Dundalk High School Chamber of Commerce who will perform our national anthem. Pastor.
First of all, I want to thank you all for asking me to come here and be a part of this great ceremony. You see, my grandfather was a millwright here, and my uncle Eddie and my cousin Dennis, they all worked here at the Point. My dad worked in the shipyards here at the Point. I remember coming here with my grandfather and waiting in the car watching the hot steel ingots move across, and we used to call them soldiers. I don't know if that's the real term that you all use, but we called them metal soldiers. And I remember this, and it's a part of my heart too, a part of my memory. I would ask you all now to please bow your heads as we pray. Almighty God, we are here today to remember and honor the past as we move into the future. Today we remember. In chapter 4 of the book of Joshua, Almighty God, you told Joshua to select 12 men to gather stones from the Jordan River. And once the waters were parted, you told them to build an Ebenezer on the far shore. And these men took the stones from the river and they placed them on the far bank. And when future generations asked what these stones meant, they would be told the story. And today, we remember our stones here. But they're not stones of hard minerals. They are stones of flesh and blood. And yet, their legacy here is as hard as the steel that was produced here in this place. These people we remember today, they are our stones. The people here today, sitting here, represent our stones. Baltimore, Dundalk, and North Point have always put God and country above self. Men and women who have worked in this place for God, country, and family, and have lost limbs and life here. The steel produced here saved the world in the 1940s. This area saved the young country in the War of 1812 and gave us our national anthem. The fruits of their labors continue from their generation to the next, from the past of history into the future of fulfillment. We see a symbol of resurrection in this place. You, Almighty God, have already blessed those whom we remember. We ask now that you hallow this place so that your grace, mercy, and majesty will be known to future generations. We ask that you bless and purify us, each and every one of us. Like steel is made pure and strong in the furnace, we move from the past into the future. Transform our hearts, our spirits, this place. And when people ask about these people in this place, we will tell them the stories of our living stones. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, we pray. God bless us all. Amen.
Twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, guys. That was terrific. Whenever the men and women who worked at the Point were looking for an advocate in government, they knew there was one woman they could turn to who would always take up their fight. Now, as she sees job opportunities that continue to exist here, she's been so supportive of our efforts to redevelop. I'm so pleased that we're joined today by U.S. Senator Barbara Mikulski.
Good morning, everybody. Well, it's quite a day here. both hopeful anticipation, and yet for many of us it'll be a 3 Kleenex affair as we say goodbye to one kind of set of manufacturing and hopefully to a new set of manufacturing. I want to extend my greetings to my fellow elected officials. It's not usual that you see 3 county executives here. Our current one, Kevin Kamenetz, Jim Smith is here, and of course Dutch Ruppersberger wears so many hats, he has his own haberdashery here. And also to the outgoing leadership in the state senate and the council, particularly a salute to Norm Stone, who has served this community for 40 years. And would you join me in a very heartfelt appreciation? But this community has a new set of leadership, and to you, I want to say publicly in front of every single person here, we look forward to working with you. You know, you're a different party than us, but you know what? We're all Americans, and we're all Marylanders, and we're all, you know, represent Baltimore County. So let's join hands, let's be shoulder to shoulder. I'll stand on my stool, and let's see if we can't get the job done and bring more jobs to this community. This community, of course, in Bethlehem Steel itself, has indeed a storied history. Back to its heyday in 1957, when 30,000 people worked right here on these 3,000 acres. In my own family, Bethlehem Steel is in our DNA. My father had a small grocery store in Highlandtown. The men who came into that grocery store, and during the war, the women who were the Rosies, worked at Bethlehem Steel, making steel, building ships, building airplanes at Glen L. Martin's, building automobiles. They were builders. My father reached out to those families, and they were great customers to us. But when Bethlehem Steel would be having a hard time, my father would go on credit, because he knew that the men who worked here were good for their word, and he also knew right here there were good jobs. And this is the kind of verb we need now. My cousin Ed worked here as a master electrician. My brother-in-law, my cousin Dick worked here as a white hat. But that was all yesterday. We need to talk about today. We know what we faced here. We had many jobs, we had good jobs, and then along came something called dumping. Dumping is when foreign countries sold steel here in this country below the cost of production. We worked to fight it. Helen Bentley and I, and the entire delegation, tried to stand up for dumping, the unfair trade practices. They wanted to dump jobs, and we wanted to dump dumping. We stood up for steel in every single way we could, and we need to continue to do it. We faced the WTO. I remember when Leo Gerard, all of us, Rick Santorum from Pennsylvania, those of us in the Maryland delegation, we were standing up for steel. We had a program under President Bush, and what happened? We were told that we violated WTO agreements. They were more willing to give a break to Brazil or China than to the United States of America. Well, I think the voters have said enough's enough. We need to change these trade practices, and we need to change the tax code that doesn't reward sending jobs overseas, but we have a tax code. If we're going to do tax reform, let's reform it that it goes to the middle class and creating middle class. A tax code that stops rewarding people for sending jobs overseas, and we need a tax break that brings jobs to come back here. Today, though, is not the day of public policy. The day is to talk about what the new day is. When I heard where we were heading with the new Bethlehem Steel, I was relieved. I don't know about the rest of you, but we went through RG Steel, false promises, false hopes. Then in came the Russian oligarch. God, did I need a shooter of vodka after that meeting? Because again, he didn't care about us. You don't get to be a Putin teacher's pet and be for American jobs here at Bethlehem Steel. But we work to be able to change that. Now with Redwood Capital, working with the new management structure, now working actually with the plan, with the state and local permitting and federal process to clean up the environmental problems and to create an opportunity on 3,000 acres for new jobs. That's what I'm excited about. I'm excited not about the old days, which I will always carry in my heart, but I care about the new days. The new days where we make sure we have a federal law book that puts more money in the local checkbook back here. I'm going to continue to work here for Bethlehem Steel and to do what I can. I'm excited about these prospects. We have a fabulous location. We have an extraordinary opportunity. We are the only place on the East Coast with a deep water port that is ready for the new ships coming through the Panama Canal. And we did that because we worked on a bipartisan basis and we created the 50-foot channel. We were able to do that. And yes, there was controversy. Helen, you remember the Hart Miller Island controversy? When we said, don't dump it on Hart Miller Island, dump it on Gibson Island. Remember that one? But out of that came new opportunity because we worked together and to solve problems. I look forward to doing that because if we all work together, we can make a change that will make a difference. We want jobs, and we want them here. And we want jobs to pay a family wage so that when people go to work, their hand is held high, their head is held high, they know the jobs that they have will bring back what they need to do to be able to raise their family. So we gather in friendship and fellowship today in the greatest country in the world. But we have to have manufacturing because they say a country that doesn't make something can't make something of itself. So let's all work together. Let's say, God bless America, the country we love, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you very much, Senator Mikulski. So like Senator Mikulski, our next speaker has also unfortunately watched the decline of jobs here at the point, and he joins us in our commitment to create new economic activity and new jobs. It's my pleasure to introduce Senator Ben Cardin.
Mike, thank you very much, and I really appreciate this day. It's interesting that we've been through some brutal times. Earlier this week, it was pretty cold here. But I think it is somewhat symbolic today is a beautiful day outside. Because it is right that we honor a legacy and prepare for a new future. And that's what we're doing today. So I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to be here with our federal team, Senator Barbara Mikulski, Judge Ruppersberger. We're proud of the role that the federal government has played in the development of Sparrows Point. It's good to be here with our state team, Peter Franchot, a great leader in our state for job opportunities and a strong advocate for Maryland in all parts of our state. It's good to be here with Kevin Cabinets and the county team. We are together, and I want to underscore the point that Senator Mikulski made. The elections are over. Now we're all going to work together for the benefit of not just Sparrows Point, for the benefit of our state and our country. So I look forward to that. Honoring the legacy, and there are two people here. Pastor, you mentioned finding the stones. Well, we have Norm Stone, and I really want to thank him for all his years of service to our community, and particularly to East Baltimore County. Just one of the great leaders, and it's been my honor to serve with him. You know, I have a fierce advocate in Senator Barbara Mikulski. I must tell you, I'm sorry you can't be in some of the closed meetings I'm with Senator Mikulski. Fortunately, some of those conversations don't get reported. But I tell you, there's no stronger person advocating for Maryland in this country than Barbara Mikulski. And the person who joined her for so many years, Helen Bentley. Helen, it's so good to see you, and thank you for everything you do. We honor your legacy here in this country. So thank you. You know, here at Sparrows Point, they made steel for over 100 years. You know, each of us have stories. Tim Zink, my communications director of Maryland is telling me about his grandfather and great-grandfather that worked here at Sparrows Point. We all know the stories. We know what they did. They literally built this country, from the George Washington Bridge to the Golden Gate Bridge. And the rail and the highways and the bridges. Bethlehem Steel, Sparrows Point was part of the was the heart of the industrial revolution of America. The skyscrapers, steel made here, the defense of our country. They built the greatest country in the world, and then they preserved the greatest country in the world right here at Sparrows Point. So we honor that legacy, but we also plan for the future. The great thing about Sparrows Point, it was the ladder of economic opportunity for so many families, And as we plan the future, we want to make sure it's the ladder of economic opportunity for the future here in East Baltimore County. That's our goal. That's how you honor the legacy here. So I congratulate Mike, what you have planned. We look forward to a clean technology in manufacturing, Mike. We're not going to forget manufacturing. For great job opportunities for the people that work here, helping us preserve an incredible environment that we have with the Chesapeake Bay. And it can be done and will be done here at Sparrows Point, creating more jobs for the people of our community. That's what we're doing here. That's why we're so excited about the outcome. There is no other place like Sparrows Point. The acres you have here, the beauty you have here, the people you have here. That's what makes this place so unique. So yes, we honor the men and women who worked here, that gave us this great country and protected this great country. And the best way to do it is the legacy for the future and the type of job opportunities that will be done here. And then we will continue to be proud of the role played in East Baltimore County, not just for East Baltimore County, but for our state and our nation. It truly is an honor to represent you in the United States Senate. Congratulations.
Thank you, Senator Cardin. It is always nice to see people who get as excited as I am about Sparrows Point.
About Edgemere.
And Edgemere. Our next speaker joined us last month at an event we had to discuss job opportunities we hope to create here at the Point. He is a true champion of economic development in Baltimore County. It's my pleasure to introduce Congressman Dutch Ruppersberger.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's great. It's an honor to be here and to celebrate a new chapter in the long history of Sparrows Point. I just want to acknowledge some people because I think it's important. We're talking about history, we're talking about the past, and we're talking about moving ahead to the future. And it's about having a good team together representing our constituents. You know, it's an honor to be elected, and I tell a lot of people in politics, the election is the easy part. It's the work that you do afterwards to representing your constituents. And we have a good team. Senator Mikulski, thank you for your grit. Thank you for your professionalism. One of the most powerful women in the world, except until a couple more weeks. But Barbara was chairman of the Appropriations Committee. And that's a big deal in the state of Maryland and in the country. But I know you have great relationships with our Republican friends, and I'm sure you will do well. And Ben Cardin also. Ben, ever since he's been a senator, has he gotten to be really dynamic in his speaking. So Ben, I want to thank you. So that team is a team that we need to go forward with this project. It's extremely important. We want to thank the Comptroller because this project is a federal, state, and local project. And it's a team project. It's an exciting project where we can move forward and create jobs. Kevin Kamenetz, you had this job. You have the job now. Jimmy Smith, who's head of transportation, was county executive. And I know that we've all spent a lot of time agonizing on the whole issue with Sparrows Point. But we have a vision now, and we have a great team in the Sparrows Point Terminal that are ready to move forward. And we're going to create thousands and thousands of jobs as a team coming together. Helen, you know, Helen, I always refer to Helen as Queen of the Port. She's my girlfriend, Queen of the Port. But, you know, Helen's grit, and you put Helen and Mikulski together, watch out. Those two can really help and get things done. But Helen, you're always here, and we really appreciate your commitment to everyone, and you know, Helen and I ran against each other, and we were best friends all the way through and afterwards too, and she's still working for the people. Thanks, Helen. It's important to acknowledge Norman Stone from the Stone Age. He's the longest senator in the history of the state of Maryland. Norman and his team, you had Mike Weir, you had Sonny Minnick, Johnny O. Jr., and then Johnny O. Sr. They all worked together as a team for many years, helping with infrastructure, doing the things that needed to be done. And so it's important to acknowledge you, but we're moving forward now. And I also want to acknowledge the new team, Senator-elect John Salling, you know, the delegate-elects Robin Kramer, Bob Long, and Rick Metzger, and Councilman Todd Crandall. You are the new team. And believe me, I said it before, the easy part was the election. Now we've got to work for our constituents and make things happen. And I think we can all commit together, and we've already talked, that we'll come together as a team. Sure, we're loyal to our parties at election time, but the election's over, we're going to make a difference. And I'll give you a little tip. If you do the job that you're elected, the rhetoric at election time doesn't work as much. So that's the key to staying in office, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you as a team for the benefit of Dundalk, Edgemere, North Point, Essex. Let's cover all those areas. And also Ravens fans. Any Ravens fans here? All right. I'm a little concerned tonight, but hopefully we'll do okay. We'll see what's going to happen. Also, this is where you missed somebody because I didn't have my notes. If I did miss anybody, I'm sorry. There he is. The Aaron Tamarchio, by the way, also with Sparrows Point Terminal. He used to work for the county executive in Harford County, and you also have Mike Galeazzo. You're the manufacturing man, right? And you're going to bring manufacturing and work with us, so that's important. Today is not about me. It's not about the elected officials that are up here on this stage. Today is about the men and women who have shaped Baltimore's industrial identity for more than 150 years. Each one of you who worked in this area making steel. It's about the men and women standing up for everything that you did as a team working for your communities and for your family. And it's also about the history of people who worked here. My father worked on the grounds here for many years. Probably that's what helped pay for the food. And in those days I ate a lot of food. But that is the history of the tradition. Remember the good days when 4,000 jobs were here. But you know what happened? All of a sudden, steel had a problem. And it wasn't anybody's fault working at steel because they were putting it out. And then we almost came to a depression here. But the people who live in Dundalk, Edgemere, Essex, North Point, I got it, okay. They still stay together as a community. The area that I mentioned, Dundalk, Greater Dundalk, is one of the most patriotic communities in the country. Celebrating 4th of July 4 days in a row. Generations of families that keep coming and living here year after year. That's what's so special about Dundalk. And what I like about Dundalk and the Greater Dundalk area, Edgemere, is the fact that there are individuals and families that tell it like it is. You will always know where you stand. There's no phoniness about Dundalk. You will know where you stand. They want to take care of their families, their communities, their grandchildren. They want to make sure education and we're taking care of crime in the street. So I just want to say we really appreciate this area. Now, the El Blast furnace was installed nearly 40 years ago. It operated on the sheer determination of the employees. It would keep running for another 40 years if they had anything to do with it. Today is a day to celebrate your grit, to thank you for determination and fighting spirit. It's a day for you and for the entire Dundalk community. Now, the site's new owners, Sparrows Point Terminal, have made a commitment to continuing the tradition of manufacturing here at Sparrows Point. Look what they've done here today. They're the ones that put this together. And I can tell you in politics, the corporations and the businesses that reach out to the community, listen to the community, want to hear what the community needs, they're the ones that are going to be successful. And the good news is we have local ownership here who cares about our area, who cares about success, and they have the resources to back up the job. And that's what makes it really positive. So again, I want to thank you all at the terminal. I mean, you're just doing things the right way. We need, again, come together, as I said, Democrats, Republicans, federal, state, and local. That's what we need to make this successful. Another issue, Helen, Queen of the Port. Our port is growing faster than ever. One of the biggest economic engines we have in this state. And we can use this site for new cargo and jobs. One of the few places on the East Coast that we will be able to have port and with goods coming in and out. Very unique, and it's going to make a difference. Again, jobs, 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 more jobs. There's room for endless opportunities to create thousands of jobs with all types of educational background, career experience, and retraining, and that's important. That includes the men and women of Sparrows Point and Dundalk and Edgemere and Essex. Okay, got it. If they need retraining again, we're going to do it. We're going to do whatever needs to be done. Again, you're a part of a long, proud tradition. I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to say that I represent you and to work with our federal, state, and local team. Thank you for having us here today.
Thank you, Mr. Congressman. From the time that our next speaker was elected to statewide office, he's been one of Maryland's leading advocates for businesses, job creation, and economic development. I'm very pleased that he's here to join us today, and I look forward to working with him as we move forward on redevelopment and job creation. Pleased to introduce Comptroller Peter Franchot.
It's an honor for me to be up here with two of Maryland's greatest leaders, Senator Mikulski and Senator Cardin. They do a fabulous job for our state in the Senate. Delighted to be here with Dutch Ruppersberger, who defends our national security every day in Washington on the Intelligence Committee. And Kevin Kamenetz has been a tremendous county executive for my favorite county, Baltimore County. So I'm just lucky to be here with all of you today. I do want to just mention, along with all the other elected officials, I echo everything that's been said, but Jim Smith, the Secretary of Transportation, is just a true pleasure to work with at the state level. And boy, does he get the job done. And knowing that he's involved in this project makes me feel great. Thank you, Jim. And then the great Helen Bentley was mentioned. I worked with her when I was in the legislature, but heck, she worked so hard for the Port of Baltimore, we named the whole damn thing after her. Yep. And I wonder if all of you, since this Friday is her 91st birthday, if you could just wish her a happy birthday. Maybe the choir could sing a happy birthday for her when they get back up. Anyway, this is a poignant moment, obviously. Some would say almost bittersweet, because we're remembering the century-long relationship we've had with Bethlehem Steel, and we're embracing the possibilities for the future. The Baltimore County and the citizens of Maryland are reminded of our great past as we're struggling in this recession. And I think we all believe that this treasured landmark is going to rise once again to be the beacon of manufacturing for the eastern seaboard, as it once was. The prospects of a new industrial campus here at Sparrows Point, we find further hope in our effort to restore Maryland's economy, job opportunity, and private sector confidence. The thousands of jobs that will be brought back to Baltimore County and Baltimore City, as well as the countless jobs we'll see in order to develop our new manufacturing hub, will be a critical step forward for a part in our state hardest hit past decade. We welcome all of the investors who have committed to the long-term success and historic preservation of Sparrows Point. We pledge to do all we can once again to realize our state's greatest potential in the areas of manufacturing and transportation. And I'll just say on a personal note, God bless us elected officials, but I come from Montgomery County, and the idea of manufacturing jobs is great rhetoric, but you really have to go up to a place like the Independent Can Company up here in Harford County, 400,000 square foot facility, family-owned business. You go up and tour it, if you would, look for the cans that you can buy Irish steel-cut oatmeal in, because that happens to be what I get up in the morning and make for myself when I'm leaving the house.
And I always thought these steel cans were manufactured in Ireland and filled over in Ireland with Irish oatmeal. But it turns out they're made right up here in Independent Can Company, thousands and thousands every day, and then they're shipped out to Wisconsin and filled with oatmeal. So thank goodness for the United States of America. But the people that are working in that facility, they didn't go to college. They wouldn't have been good in college. They came out and they have these jobs, manufacturing cans and everything else. They get paid $25, $30 an hour. And I said, well, gee, you must have a great relationship with a vocational tech high school up here in Harford County. The owner said, yeah, but there are only 7 kids in the program. Everybody's being pushed into college. Not every kid benefits from that. What about creating some manufacturing jobs? So I hope we get 20 independent can company type manufacturing jobs down here, because our kids, particularly the ones that, you know, like me, may have not been very good in school, they don't all need to go to college, but boy, do they need a good paying, family supporting job. And I'm delighted to be here with you on as we pioneer this forward. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Comptroller. It's exciting to hear about that 400,000 square foot facility. We have an 800,000 square foot facility, and it has 19 cranes in it, so just say it. 19 cranes. So for our next speaker, every time I see him or a member of his staff, I keep getting asked the same question. When are we going to make our first announcement that we've got a company coming to the point? Not today. We're working on it. But his enthusiasm illustrates a real genuine passion for what we intend to accomplish here. I'm pleased to introduce County Executive Kevin Kamenetz.
Thanks so much, Mike. You know, it's really a bittersweet moment for me to stand here as the Baltimore County Executive as we revere our storied past, but also have great hope for our future here. This is a proud sight for every Baltimore County resident because it was Baltimore County steel that helped keep this country strong. It was vital to the effort during 2 world wars. Baltimore County steel stands in our nation's infrastructure from the Golden Gate Bridge to the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. And part of my job as county executive is to step back and look at the big picture to see how we can make the most of what makes our county great. And right here at Sparrows Point, I see everything that we need to bring jobs back for this generation and for generations to come. And the basis for our optimism is simple. Sparrows Point has a unique combination of assets that just can't be found anywhere else on the East Coast. 3,000 acres, 5 square miles of industrially zoned land. It has deepwater port access, plus access to 2 interstates and 2 rail lines. We think rail service can be brought right to the front door, great infrastructure and opportunities. But most exciting for the opportunities, as you've heard, is the port and port-related uses of logistics, transportation, storage. We have every reason to believe that the port alone can bring back 10,000 new family-supporting jobs right back here at the point, and that's just on a portion of this property. We're very excited about the next generation of jobs, but more importantly, the local ownership of Sparrows Point Terminal, and particularly their adoption of Baltimore County's Sparrows Point Partnership vision. But there's one asset that I haven't mentioned, and that's something that's very unique here. We have people who work hard and work smart. These are workers who know what it is to put in a good day's work for a good day's pay. And we talk about the politicians up here. I really want to recognize and please join in a round of applause for all of our hard workers in this county. I mean, let's face it, steelworking isn't the easiest job. The work was always hard and often dangerous, and it took a combination of both brains and brawn. But talk to any steelworker from any generation, and you learn that there's something special about working here that created a bond that lasts for generations. These men and women called the mighty L Furnace the Beast of the East, and Big Mama for her power and strength. Shortly after the L Furnace was built, steelworkers wielded the Star of Bethlehem onto the Beast as a symbol of pride and hope. I'm so pleased that Sparrows Point Terminal is preserving the Star to help all of us and really for future generations to stay connected to these values. Now, you've heard enough of the elected officials. I'm really honored to introduce to you our stars here today. And these are 4 representatives of the tens of thousands of men and women who proudly worked here at Sparrows Point. And they're here to share their personal mill stories. So ladies and gentlemen, let me first introduce Donald Kellner, is a man who worked at the Point for 40 years. President of the Steelworkers United and Retirees, Local 4977, a man who actually works harder in retirement with more jobs than he actually did when he was getting paid for it. Donald Kellner.
Good morning. It feels real good to be a down-to-earth guy instead of a politician. I love Barbara Mikulski. A few things about myself, and I'll be very short. I graduated from the greatest high school in the world, Dundalk High. And I graduated June the 4th. I won't tell you what year it was, but a few years ago. And I began working here at the plant June the 5th. I worked there for over 44 years. Became active in the union in 1959 during a 116-day work strike, the last strike that the plant ever had. I worked with the greatest bunch of people in the world, steelworkers, hourly, salary, it was a family. I had some nasty jobs of going to visit people, over 100 who were killed during my duration as president of the local union. There ain't a greater bunch of people in the world than the United Steelworkers members and members who worked at Bethlehem Steel. I currently serve as the president of Retirees United Local 9477, the largest retirees group in the United States. I'm currently working for Mr. Kaminetz part-time, and I currently work as the field coordinator for the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We can forget what happened to steelworkers at the plant in 2000. We can forget what happened in 2012. We don't want to, but we have to forget that. I look around and I see a lot of gray heads. The people that we got to look out for is these kids over here. We got to find jobs for these kids, for your grandchildren, my grandchildren, and for the next generations. This could be a great place to work. I would like to do everything I possibly can, but I want to wish these kids a lot of good. I hope they all graduate from high school, and I hope they all come to work down here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. Well, our next speaker, many people called her Rosa Parks for helping break down barriers for women in a traditionally male industry. So please welcome the former president of the Women of Steel and current Essex resident, Addie Loretta Houston-Smith.
Hey, how are you? I speak from my heart. I don't need a piece of paper, okay? I worked at Bethlehem Steel for 30 years, and I was a crane operator. And like I always tell this story, I remember my first time of getting laid off. I went to unemployment and they asked me what I did. What was my job title? I told them I was a hooker. And they wanted to know. I said, wait a minute, let me explain to you what a hooker is. I said, I made a lot of money. And I found one of my old paychecks to prove it. So, I left there. They said, a hooker, can we get a job there? I said, you sure can. But we
You
had
gotta
a...
stop this. Too many people complain that we take too much of this anyway. Let me give it back. Let's give the money back to the people.
But anyway, I am president of the Woman of Steel, former president. Thanks to a young lady over here, Darlene Jeter. Would you please stand up, please, and join me? Please come. Please come, Darlene. Okay, thank you. But we had a lot of struggles, And we learned to fellowship with each other. Management worked with us, and we would have meetings, talk about our issues, and it worked itself out. And we had to remember, we were in a mill with men. They didn't want us in there anyway. They told us we belong home, cooking and cleaning. But we made it our choice to let them know we were there to stay. We were making money. I worked for Enoch Pratt Free Library. I quit my job, and when I got my first paycheck, I stayed at Bethlehem Steel. I loved it. But I just want to say it was a beautiful place to work. I miss all of my coworkers. I see them in the street. We might not always know each other's names, but we all still workers, and it's a lot of love. Thank you.
Thank you, Addie. Michael Lewis, our next speaker, held many steel-making jobs in his 34 years working here, and perhaps most important was his time as the safety instructor for the plant. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael Lewis.
I had prepared some notes to say, and in talking to Don, he says, you don't need those notes, just speak from your heart. And my heart will always be in this place, because where we stand today, for me and for a lot of the faces out there, this is hallowed ground. When you think about the great state of Maryland, you think about many of our national treasures and our national landmarks. From Fort McHenry, which was so vital in the War of 1812, to right not too far from there, the Star-Spangled Banner House, where Mary Pickersgill sewed the flag that flew the night that inspired Francis Scott Key to write the Star-Spangled Banner. You know, from the Antietam battlefield, you know, which was pivotal in the victory in the Civil War. But for me and many people like myself, this place is hallowed ground. This is a place where immigrants who debarked at Locust Point to flee war-torn Europe, they found employment and a better opportunity. But it's also the place that some 87 years ago, my grandfather and great uncle, to escape the harsh conditions of the rural tobacco fields of North Carolina, made their way and found a job here and settled down in the state of Maryland. My family spans 3 generations here at Sparrows Point. This was a powerful place, and I was privileged to work here. I was privileged to be around so many good people. I was privileged to have some lasting relationships, because those relationships are as strong as the steel that we made down here. We made some really strong structural steel. As Senator Cardin said, the Golden Gate Bridge, the George Washington Bridge, but we also made the steel that went into Rockefeller Center as well as Madison Square Gardens. All historical landmarks, but none so historical to me as this sacred ground known as Sparrows Point. I was privileged to be a union representative down here and hold elected office. I was privileged to work with some of my fellow officers that still continue to carry the union message. It is my sincere hope that out of the ashes of destruction that's taking place that was once the mighty steel mill known as Bethlehem Steel, ArcelorMittal, ISG, Severstall, and RG, what will come will be an oasis of opportunity for, just as Don Kellner said, the young people you see in that choir and our future generations to have the same opportunity for advancement within a structure as I had. I started out as a laborer in the tin mill. I went on to become more than just a laborer now. I went on to become a safety coordinator. I went on to become a training instructor. I went on to become an officer of my local union, and today I am privileged to be a part of the Steelworkers International staff representing District 8, and recently received an appointment from the director to be co-chair for civil rights for District 8. So this was a ladder up for many of us, not just on the union side, but also on the company side. A lot of my friends went into the management ranks, where they may have started off working the production line, they ended up being a general foreman. So what we need is more places like this, and I'm happy, Mr. Pedone, that you guys are going to resurrect this place and let it be a place that provides good paying middle class jobs, and we hope that there'll be good paying unionized middle class jobs. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Our last speaker is Troy Pritt, who's the new kid on the block. And Troy worked on the galvanizing line for 15 years, and importantly is now reinventing his career at the University of Baltimore. So please welcome Troy Pritt.
I'm not as good a speaker as my colleagues here, so I did write some notes. So hello everyone, my name is Troy Pritt and I'm honored to be here today. I was a proud steel worker for 15 years. The mill gave me a good job and the security to raise a family, buy a home, and live the American dream. The steel worker is the unsung hero of our nation. We built the steel that became the backbone of this great country. I can always hold my head high and say I'm a steel worker. I was a part of the mill that built the Liberty ships during World War II, and I was a part of the mill that built the steel for the Golden Gate Bridge. I was a part of the family of men and women that worked here and gave their lives to the mill. For many people, when they start their job, their work history starts the day they're hired. For me, it started 100 years before I cashed my first paycheck. If someone asked me, where do I work, with the answer of only 5 words, they would know where I worked and they would know my history. Proudly, I would say, I work at the Point. When I left the mill in June of 2012, my future was uncertain, and all I knew was being a steel worker. The year before the mill closed, I started taking college courses at the local community college. I wrote this poem for one of my classes, and I feel that it explains the feeling of loss that myself and my fellow steel workers had felt. It's called Where Do I Go? The furnace is cold, and the steel no longer flowed. Silence enveloped the land that had not heard silence for over 100 years. He stood in the parking lot not knowing where to go next. 4 generations of his family gave their lives to the mill. When the boss passed him in the parking lot, he yelled out, "Where do I go?" The boss replied to him, "You go home." He nodded in recognition, however, he did not understand. I am home, he thought. Shortly after I wrote that, I started classes at the University of Baltimore. It was time to reinvent myself and find a path to a new home. With the encouragement of my great wife, some funding from the government, and a never-fail attitude, I started to pursue a business degree. Currently, I'm the student government vice president, the member of 3 honors programs, and I'm happy to say that in May of 2015, I will graduate with a bachelor's degree in business administration and marketing. Strength of character, being a hard worker, and the drive to succeed were skills that I learned in the mill and were transferable in the classroom. And whenever classes would get tough, I would think of the steel workers, past and present, and feel that I was being encouraged by all of them. As I look around, I see the landscape has changed at the Point, and I am grateful that the mill has not stood in ruins like so many other factories around the country. The massive buildings are almost gone, and soon the mighty L furnace will be a memory. Although it will always be sad to know that the mill is gone, I am happy to know that the Point is reinventing itself. Soon new businesses will open here, and with them they will bring new opportunity. A new generation of workers will bring hopes, accomplishments, and struggles to this parcel of land, and to do as the steel workers of the past had done, pursue the American dream. The new generations of workers will add to our history, and when they are asked where do they work, they can proudly say, I work at the Point. Thank you very much.
It's really a powerful group of stories. You know what, guys? I'm going to go off the script for a minute too. You know, I have a lot of family that work here, and when I hear these stories, it makes me think about my own family members. And one in particular that really stands out for me is actually my wife's grandfather. He graduated from high schools in the middle of World War II, and you know, he went right to basic training, and he was in the 82nd Airborne, went all through Europe, came back, and he came to work here. And he worked here the rest of his life on the annealing line. And you know, I think about the people like that I've got in my family, and I have to tell you that I hope that I can ever be half the man he was. They just don't make people like that anymore. So this is it's a remarkable thing for me personally to be involved in what we're doing here. So before we conclude, I want to take a moment to recognize some of my friends and colleagues who are playing key roles in the redevelopment of the Point, and also who helped make this event a success. So I want to thank David Mardigan and his crew at MCM, especially Brandon Bonanno, George Pertikakis, Amanda Myers, Laura Nokar, and Mike Vogler. MCM is so much more than a demolition company. They are the unsung heroes of this site. This, as I sometimes say, Sparrows Point is like Texas. Everything is bigger here. And they make it run smoothly on a day-to-day basis. And thank you guys. Also from MCM, I want to thank the crew. I mean it, Dave. You guys are the best. Also from MCM, I want to thank the crew responsible for the star. Don Barry, Jeff Crable, Stan Lawson, Al Powell, Steve Fuos, Joe Roseberry, Willie Cargo, Phil Crisp, Steve Feigl, Andy Amrine, Steve Gibbs, Andrew Gibbs, Jim Orr, and Ed Kaminsky. They carefully removed the star from the L furnace. They refurbished it, rewired it. They fabricated the 12,000-pound base it's sitting on out there in the parking lot. And they were here late Friday night to get it moved into place, welded, and wired up for everybody. You guys rock. Of course, got to thank our great friends from Costa's Inn, who provided their usual amazing spread of food. As we say in my Italian family, you ain't leaving until you eat. So please have some. Finally, I want to recognize my colleagues at SPT. Unfortunately, our CEO, Dixon Betts, could not be here. He's from New Orleans. Apparently he's a Saints fan, and I don't know. But I am joined by Steve Bernstein and Aaron Tamarchio. In particular, I want to thank Aaron for all his hard work, not only organizing this event, but just generally helping us at SPT always put our best foot forward. We couldn't do it without you, Aaron. So thanks again to everybody for joining us today. We really appreciate you coming out to celebrate the legacy of the Point with us. I'm sorry. Oh, okay, hang on, hold on. Thank you. Thank you, Senator Mikulski. So the Dundalk High School Chorus has another one for us.